Good morning. So I'm going to take a few minutes to talk about a question which I've seen pop up over over the years and starting to see it again. And that is the question, what happens if the stock market goes to zero? So quick segue, I'm not going to get into am I too aggressive, am I too conservative, am I in the right stuff? What should I do with my investments now that the market's going crazy? Not touching any of that, so go talk to your local professional. But going to talk about what happens if the stock market goes to zero. Another question you'll see along with that is what happens if I put my money into stocks or investments and lose all of it? What happens? And when we talk about the stock market, we're going to focus on the S&P 500, the Standard & Poor's 500. And that's a basket, a collection of stocks, a list essentially. 500 of the largest companies in the United States of America. So that's where we're going to start from. But we're going to take a step back and talk about stocks. So what is a stock? A stock is a piece or a part of a company. Now, if the stock does well, the company does well, rather, company brings in more money, sells more goods and services, stuff like that, you're going to see the stock go up because people think it's worth more. If the company does poorly and loses money, stock's going to go down or be worth less. And if the company does really poorly and goes bankrupt, the stock is zero. It's worthless. So that's where we're going to start. So what happens if the stock market goes to zero? In order for that to happen, you're looking at all 500 companies in the S&P 500 going bankrupt at essentially the same time. Now, what does that mean? Well, let's look at a few of those. Apple. You have an almost fanatical following, let's just say, because they just love the products and the products are awesome, or because they just like to dislike Android and all things Google and whatever. You're going to have a lot of people who do, CAD, who do Photoshop, photo editing, anything like that. Those are the folks who tend to go with Apple. Good products, iPhone 10, you have to admit, it's a shiny piece of machinery. If I wasn't already invested in everything Android, I might look at it. Yeah. But anyway, in order for Apple to go bankrupt, everyone would just have to stop liking and buying their stuff, like overnight. What's another one? Home Depot. As long as you have people who think they can do the project but really can't, and they have to keep redoing it, they're probably going to be going to Home Depot to get stuff and get more stuff, or for the professional contractors who just love it. Lowe's is another one that's in the S&P 500, and same thing. As long as you have people building and fixing and upgrading their homes, they're probably going to be fine. What's another one? Gap. As long as you have teenagers and cool college students, or college students who want to think they're cool, Gap will probably be okay. What's another one? Walmart. If you don't go to Walmart for food, you go there for medication. If you don't go there for medication, you go there for toilet paper. If you don't go there for toilet paper, you go there for TVs and inexpensive electronics. If you don't go there for that, you go there because you want to go there and make fun of everyone who's dressing up in their pajamas. There was a joke a while back that you couldn't even tell that there was a recession in 2008 if you went to a Walmart parking lot, because parking lots were always full. So that's what it would take for Walmart to go under. You'd have to stop going there for pretty much everything. What's another good one? Oh, Harley Davidson is also in the S&P 500. As long as there are women who love motorcycles, and as long as there are men who are going through midlife crises, Harley Davidson will probably keep selling motorcycles. Just saying. So those are a few examples of companies. And again, you're talking 500. And I mentioned Gap, I mentioned Home Depot, Lowe's, Harley Davidson, Home Depot, Apple. General Mills is another one. As long as you have kids that love cereal and adults who are too busy or too lazy to fix their kids' breakfast, or adults who are too lazy to fix breakfast for themselves, General Mills will probably still be in business. So when you look at all of these companies that are just integral parts of everyday lives. What would it take for the S&P 500? What would it take for all 500 companies in the S&P 500 to go bankrupt overnight? U.S. economy would have to collapse. We'd be going back to the bartering system. Everything just totally stopped. Now, with a lot of these companies, a good portion of them, they are multinational conglomerates. They do a lot of their business. Like when you think of Goldman Sachs is another one that's in the S&P 500. J.P. Morgan Chase, and even Apple, IBM. These are companies that do maybe half or more of their business overseas as well. So in order for a lot of these companies to go under, the global economy would also have to collapse overnight. What would it take for that to happen? I'm thinking something along the lines of nuclear Armageddon, Mars meteor hits the Earth, the nuclear warfare, end of the world types of scenarios, zombie apocalypse, all stuff that we have absolutely no control over. That's essentially what I'm getting at. So, yeah, can that happen? Can the stock market really go to zero? Yeah, it can. Will it? Probably not. And if it does, your investment professional is building a fortress somewhere in the wilderness. It's not like the S&P 500 collapses. You wake up, make your coffee, you're watching the news as always, and you say, "Oh, it looks like the stock market went to zero. I better call my investment professional and start fussing at him. Hey, Bob, what did you do? Why didn't you get me out of this?" No, you are trying to escape. You're trying to survive. You're going into the wilderness to hide from everyone who's trying to take your stuff. That's what's going on. So can it happen? Yes. And this is part of the chances that it would happen are minuscule. You're talking almost like when you're buying lottery tickets and you somehow convince yourself that if I can buy 5 more tickets, if I can get 10 more tickets, if I can just pull a bunch of people in my office together, we know we can win this. Even though the chances are winning are 1 in whatever millions, several million. But you're still convincing yourself that it can happen. And it's the same thing with this question. It's a very remote possibility that's going to happen. Life is going to go on. The stock market's going to go on. You're probably going to be okay. But it's almost like you're convincing yourself that this worst case scenario is almost a certainty. Now, if you look at the spectrum from worst case scenario apocalypse to Dow Jones, S&P 500, everything goes well. The market shoot up like a banshee and go up 1,000%. You have all these possibilities in here. And the one that's over here that you're focusing on in order to wonder, is the stock market going to go to zero? That's less than 1% chance. But you have all these different scenarios ranging from kind of bad to really awesome. You're taking all that out of the picture and you're just going to the one that's over here. That's what you have to do in order to think of the possibility or try to answer the question, will the stock market go to zero? Now, here's the other thing though. Well, what if the stock market doesn't do as well? What if the stock market just kind of goes, and we get 2% return or something weird like that over the next 10, 15 years? Won't that affect me? And yeah, you're right. And if the economy doesn't go as well, if the economy does poorly, the stock market won't return as much, the government won't collect as much in taxes, benefits such as Social Security may or may not be there in the future in their present form. What does that mean? It means you need to save more, because if you're not going to return as much, you need to save more in order to make up for the fact that you're going to have bad returns. You're going to have to pay off debt. You're going to have to buy assets, buy that house, pay off that house. Get yourself into a position where you can take care of yourself and you don't have to rely on as much on the government or the stock market. Maybe you start your own business. But wait a second. Paying off debt, saving more, collecting assets, maybe starting a business. That's all stuff you should do anyway, whether the stock market's doing really well or doing very poorly. So that's the main thing I want to leave everyone with as I end this video. Is that yeah, things could blow up. Things could go poorly. You may be riding a roller coaster known as the stock market over the next few years, or trying to figure out what you're going to do as you retire. But that doesn't change the fact that you should be living on less than what you make. You should be paying off debt. You should be saving more. You should be trying to collect assets so that you're not relying on the government or family or anyone else to survive when you need it most. So that's something that doesn't change. You should be doing it anyway. And if everything does blow up, if we do have that nuclear Armageddon or whatever, you're not going to be able to stop it anyway. But don't ignore all the other stuff that you should be doing just to worry about the worst case scenario. In some cases, and for me personally, worrying about the worst case scenario, it was a cop out. It really was. Because if everything is going to blow up anyway, why do I need to save? Why do I need to pay off debt? Why do I need to build assets? Why do I need to better myself and try to go after promotions or start a business or whatever? Why do I need to do anything like that if everything's going to blow up and ruin everything anyway? And once you put that worst case scenario out of your head, that almost forces you to look at the future and what's going to happen. What do you need to do if the worst doesn't come to pass? And it forces you to take responsibility rather than saying, it's going to be all over, nothing I can do, so I'm just going to eat bonbons, sit on my couch, and play computer games. Can't do that if you know there's going to be a future and if you have to actually do something about it. So, yeah, comment down below and let me know what you think about that, and I'll see y'all later.